This is the easiest injury to diagnose. When it happens, everyone knows immediately what it is. And to that point, Sal Paolantonio was there. He was the reporter standing outside the X-ray room and took the photo that went viral. This picture that we'll show you right here, Cindy, is a picture that Sal took. And when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, Sal, you can see in his face and his body language.
Michael, let me set the scene for you. I'm in the press box when the injury happens. 4 plays in, the place goes silent, right, Robert? There's an eerie silence throughout MetLife. He goes into the blue tent. I'm upstairs. I have the binoculars now trained on the blue tent. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3. Okay, now I know they're examining the Achilles right away, right? They're examining the Achilles, and they're trying to figure out whether he has any kind of motion in the leg. I get up from the press box, and I run downstairs and go right to the X-ray room. I figure they're going to bring him from the locker room in a cart to the X-ray room. I don't even go to the locker room, and I just park myself there, and there he comes. The Monday Night Football cameras were there to watch him go in. Mm-hmm. He was in there for exactly 6.5 minutes, and I knew right away that they were examining the Achilles. Now, the X-rays were negative, but that doesn't mean anything. Right. He comes out, and security now is shooing me away, and I managed to snap one picture of him in the cart. And again, his face tells the whole story, right? When you look at it, he's got the FDNY hat on. He's got the large black boot on his left ankle and foot, and his face tells you that he knows that he's got a major problem here.
Yeah, the one thing that we have seen with the athletes over the many years, usually when they're in an enormous amount of pain, when you guys are in an enormous amount of pain, you know, there's writhing and there's pounding. But when there is that reaction, that numb reaction, it is because you yourself know, I'm not hurt, I'm significantly injured, and that's where Aaron Rodgers was.
Yeah, and last night on the broadcast from Monday Night Countdown, we watched Rodgers talk about manifestation. And I feel like his reaction when the injury happened was one of like, I can't believe this is happening. Mm-hmm. He knew he was hurt. And as you said, Sal, the stadium, I've never seen a group of fans or a city really just buy into a player like they did to Aaron Rodgers before he ever played a snap. So I don't feel like just Jets fans were deflated last night. I feel like all football fans were deflated and went through a range of emotions because 12 years of not making the playoffs for the Jets. You have one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, and all of that was taken away in 4 plays.
So now, if I may, in the halftime locker room, the players are coming back into the locker room, and Aaron Rodgers is there. And Zach Wilson told me that he went up to Aaron Rodgers and said, I love you, man. You know, we're going to support you, whatever. Same with other players and Robert Saleh. And now they know they are inspired by this injury and must respond. And believe me, I've never seen that kind of incendiary response from a football team to take that injury and channel it and obliterate the Buffalo Bills offensive line like they did on defense is really something remarkable. They took over the game in both special teams and you know, credit goes to Robert Saleh and that defensive staff and the way they coached that team. They totally dominated in a way that says, okay, for the night, at least we were inspired and we will win this football game.
To that point, Dominique, it almost feels to me like the best thing about last night from the Jets standpoint is the worst thing about last night, because everything we were wondering turned out to be true. Were they just Aaron Rodgers away from obviously being a legitimate Super Bowl contender? The answer is obviously yes. The skill position players, Garrett Wilson spectacular, Breece Hall spectacular, Dalvin Cook will be there, Lazard, you saw the array of it. The defense is all world. They are sensational. They are right there with any defense in the league. They were Aaron Rodgers away, as he thought and they thought. And now, unfortunately, despite a huge emotional win, they remain Aaron Rodgers away.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than you just did, because I'm not nearly as emotionally tied to it as you are, but watching them play as well as they did before the season, we're thinking, how good does Aaron Rodgers have to be for them to be the best in the division, or them to be the best in the conference, or them to be best in the league? Based on how they played last night, Aaron Rodgers needed to be a middle-of-the-league quarterback, and they would have been competitive. If he was anywhere close to his greatest, we're looking at one of the best teams in football, and that's what makes it really sad. Yep. However, I can't imagine, and maybe this is just wishful thinking from my man Greeny, I can't imagine a better story than if they're able to accomplish what they want or get deep with Zach Wilson on the heels of all this. That highlight we showed at the beginning of this, like the script writers are on their game in the NFL this season because that was a really fun, inspiring way to start the season. And I think these guys have more confidence in Zach Wilson than they've ever had before, in part because Aaron Rodgers is bestowing whatever Rodgers magic he has on Zach right now. So they're going to be feeling good about themselves. So Micah Parsons.
Look, I mean, I very much appreciate you saying that. I don't think you believe it for a second. And I don't believe it for a second. The reality is they won that game around Zach Wilson last night. Now, that's not his fault.
Right.
The plan was not for him to play. Right. They have 5 days now to put together a plan for him to play against a defense that just won 40-0 against the Giants on Sunday. But that's almost a game that you almost, by banking this win against Buffalo, that's not what's important here. What's important is that the Jets woke up yesterday morning thinking we can win the Super Bowl this year. D. Wood, you've been in that locker room. You've been on championship teams. Do the players this morning on that team feel that way? In their heart of hearts, down deep in the deepest places, do those players believe today they're going to win the Super Bowl?
It's tough. It's tough to have that feeling that you feel like with Zach Wilson, the guy that we all saw last year struggle mightily. There's a reason why Aaron Rodgers is on this Jets roster, because Zach Wilson was that bad. Now, I will say this. Aaron Rodgers has done so much to help rehabilitate Zach Wilson to get those guys feeling like they could buy into him.
Right.
But reality is reality, okay? The Jets have all these great pieces, and Aaron Rodgers was the centerpiece of that. Now you got to fall back to Zach Wilson. Do those guys truly believe that they can go out there and still accomplish the same things they talked about with Aaron Rodgers, with Zach Wilson? I'd be hard-pressed to think they really feel that way.
More so what I would say for the Jets is it was centered around Aaron Rodgers to everybody. Now it's centered around their defense and their special teams. Because that's what's going to get them an opportunity to potentially win a Super Bowl. But make no buts about it. Everyone in that locker room is like, you know what? We don't got A-Rod anymore. Sauce, it's on me.
You know, the question remains the same. And I can't actually believe what I'm hearing from these three accomplished NFL players, because I've interviewed you. Not you. You're too scary. I never interviewed you.
I'm not important enough.
No, stop.
No, but the point is, it's not about winning the Super Bowl. It's about, all right, how are we going to survive and advance?
Correct.
Week in and week out, okay?
But
So I understand.
1-0 mentality. 1-0 mentality.
But you know what, Sal? I try not to bring my Belichickian aspect into this right now. But you know what? As a player, and you know, we all as players, we can speak to this. It's literally week to week. Okay, we got a big divisional win against Buffalo. Okay, we got the Dallas Cowboys on a short week. What do we have to do to just try to win this week? Everything gets shortened. Yes, when you had Aaron Rodgers, you had the thoughts of Super Bowl. But now that you don't have Aaron Rodgers, what you do as players, you just think, okay, how can we just win this week to just keep this thing going?
That's the key thing here. That's the difference in the mentality. What I'm hearing from inside that building this morning is we will find a way, which is great. And they believe that. But that's different from what they believed when, in that first Hard Knocks episode, the defensive coordinator is standing there showing the defense Aaron Rodgers highlights and saying, that's our guy. We got a guy. That's the difference now. And it may be a subtle difference, but the fact is the Jets believe they can be good enough, but they're going to lose that whole, we're going into Kansas City or Cincinnati and we feel like our guy is right there with their guy. That's what's missing from here on out.
It's what you said, Foxy, right? This defense is unbelievable. But with Rodgers, you just had to be good enough. Right? We just got to be top 10 on defense if we got Aaron Rodgers. But now you got Zach Wilson. You got to be the #1 defense in the league to win the Super Bowl.
You don't get to the NFL without being somewhat delusional. So everybody in that locker room, it's not very hard for them to convince themselves that they still have a chance. But and Greeny, you might think I'm just trying to like sell you on a dream to make you feel better. But I do think that sometimes it's one piece. And I think back to Jared Goff as an example. Jared Goff was the worst quarterback that we'd ever seen play football. And then Sean McVay shows up. He's the one piece. All of a sudden, they're in the Super Bowl. Like, that's possible. And it's possible that I mean, that season was really bad, guys. Maybe I went a little too far, but it was really bad. But it's possible that Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett are that one piece that come in to help Zach become a better version of himself. We don't need him to be great, just need him to not be awful. So that
I watched that defense last night. I'm telling you, the Jets are going to be right there at the end of the season. Without a doubt, they will be in contention for the division title with Zach Wilson in that defense. I'm telling you.
From your mouth to God's ears, and obviously there's nothing I'd love to see more. And for all the people who are asking for my emotions today, I will just very quickly say that there is nothing in the world more frustrating than having no one to be mad at. Like when bad things happen, it is my inclination to want to be mad. I want to yell and scream, and it's the turf, and it's the coach, and it's the this, and the blind, and it's not any of that. It is that every now and again, unlucky things happen. And the confluence of circumstances here is just unimaginably unfortunate. The Jets had everything going for them. Rodgers came in, they acquired him, and he wasn't everything they hoped he would be. He was more than they could have possibly imagined he'd be. And for it to end this quickly, and I don't want to use words lightly because there are far more tragic things that can happen, but within the context of sports, for those of us who place a disproportionate amount of significance on these games that people play, this is tragic for the Jets. If they can bounce back from this, I will give them all the credit in the world. Sal, you're the best. We will have Mike T as we continue.
Hang in there, brother.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.